Hello, and welcome to Creatively Geeky, episode number 2. I'm your host for the evening, Eugene Stevens. We've got the whole crew back again this month, so that's pretty awesome. So everybody will be able to give us an update as to what we've been working on. I try not to make these shows too tied to the specific time that we do it, but we're just gonna say we are literally recording this in the middle of the COVID-19 outbreak. So that's actually going to be part of our topic. So that will also probably play into how much work we've gotten done on some of our projects. So we're going to start off the show by talking about what we said we were going to kind of work on from last month and if we've gotten any progress done on it. So with that being said, would anyone like to go first?
I'll go.
All right, Chris. On your thing, you said you were going to be working on some curtains.
Yes. So this was right before we put our house up for sale. So we had we had a bunch of little things that needed to get done, which we got them all done.
Nice.
And I said I was going to bust out my sewing machine and make these curtains. That did not happen. However, I did cut a bed sheet in half.
The curtains are made.
The curtains are made. If you can see them here, these are the curtains. Except this is the top part of the bed sheet. So I literally just cut it, and all the cut side is towards the wall, so you couldn't see it. So that cut part is there, and then I just, with scissors, I cut into the seam here so that the curtain rod would go through. That's what I did. I just cut a bed sheet in half. And it worked, because it was the day before we put the house on the market. I'm like, I'm going to cry and throw something, so let's just cut this in half. And it worked. Nope. I'm like, nobody's really going to look at them.
That's called upcycling, Chris.
Thank you.
Heck yes. It gets a check in my book.
Yes, I was really happy about that, and it worked. And then 5 days later, we sold our place. So,
which is awesome.
Because
Congrats,
of those
guys.
Curtains.
Yes.
Yeah, because of the curtains. Because I was super.
Yes.
They're like
none of the other work. None of
the other work that he did. No.
Nope.
And
years and years of labor.
Yeah, flooring, cabinets, windows, doors.
It was they asked for the curtains.
My bed sheet.
For the curtains. Well, Ray, on your list you had learn a song.
Oh.
Yeah, that was silly.
That was the thing.
It was
a
pipe dream.
Pipe dream of some sort. So I tuned my guitar.
Okay. Step one. Step one.
It was horribly out of tune. There was one day off that I had with the kids before everything went to shit. And so Logan had pulled out her guitar for something, and I said, well, you know what? She was asking me how to do a certain chord. It was a C chord she was asking about. And I looked at her car, and her guitar, she plays
She's a lefty. She plays lefty.
So it's opposite. I'm like,
wow.
So I go grab my guitar because I can't do. Nope, not working. And then as I was looking at it, I'm like, okay, well, so this is out of tune. I need to tune it. So I tuned it, and strummed a couple of chords with her to show her, and then I put it back and picked it up since. But because of shit. So literally for about a week, we weren't allowed in our house.
Yeah, because we had a lot of, now to be very thankful, but we had a lot of showings in an open house. And so it was good stuff why
we
for really weren't
an entire week, we were not here.
To touch our house.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
And then ever since then, we've been either on our free time, we've been going to look at houses or working or
social distancing.
trying to not get contaminated.
Yes. So, you literally went from not being allowed into your house to being stuck in your house. So
yes. So that's fun.
Yeah. Jennifer, you said you were going to be working on taxes.
What?
That's what you said.
I said that as part of my creative journey.
That's what you said, yes.
I don't remember that, but that did not happen.
That's why I wrote it down.
I also, I thought what you were going to say is the guitar, like getting my guitar out of the box and actually starting to play
Okay,
it.
Well then how'd you do on that?
That did not happen.
Okay.
It's still in the box. Jack shit has happened. with respect to anything. Like, I shouldn't be on this show right now because I
Oh,
haven't
stop.
done any of it. Yeah, as we'll talk about later, it's been really hard to like get motivated to do anything outside of the norm right now because
Yeah.
life is a little upside down. So
Yeah. But did you get your taxes done?
no, shit. Quit attacking me.
No, I'm not attacking you. I promise.
Now I have an extension apparently. So.
That's very true. So there you go.
But I would like the money. So.
Lauren, you said you were going to be working on some cosplay things.
I am. I got a little bit done. Half
Okay.
of it. Half of
Good.
the detail work.
Nice.
Nice.
So
That's great.
Were you rushing to get this done for EGX? Because
Yeah, well, good thing I have plenty of time now.
I know I was gonna say.
Yeah.
I'm very
That's great.
disappointed with con season. This has been the worst. Every time I'm like, okay, one con's gonna be safe, and then it turns around and gets canceled. So
Yeah.
I've been pretty sad about that.
Yeah.
And then
So
my
this is-
daughter's been out of school, so that hasn't helped much. We just got a call today that they won't be going back, that we'll be doing online classes.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
apparently we'll be homeschooling, which I do not think I'm capable of, but hey, we're gonna do it.
Oh man. Yeah.
How old's your kid?
She is 7, and she's
Okay.
very hyper, so getting her to sit still for me is going to be very interesting.
Have you? I'm sure you've seen all the memes going on of like day 2 of homeschooling. One of the kids has already been expelled, or day 3.
I
Teachers
liked
deserve $1
I
million.
liked-
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked the day 2 the teacher got fired for drinking on the job.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
I like the one, it was day 1, how do I transfer these kids out of my class?
I saw
Yes.
that one. Yeah.
Yep.
Or just y'all about to find out that it's not.
Yep.
It's not the teachers.
There are, yeah, there's a lot of things. And I've seen people, like, someone posted something or another about, like, just remember, you're not allowed to spank or isolate or anything like that. So make sure you come up with a bip for them and follow the bip. And, it basically just like, y'all about to find out it ain't us. It's your kid.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I only have one, so she has no playmate during this time. So
Oh, see, at least on the other hand, I've got 2 boys and they really need a break from each other.
Maybe they should have a play date from like the
Yeah.
other side of the door.
Yeah. No, we've had to separate them sometimes. I'm just like, you go to your room. You stay in the living room. Don't talk to each other.
That's it. Dad's putting in a basement.
Starting to dig it now. I'll never get to that. Sean, you had, I almost looked down and said cosplay. I was like, what? You had guitar/writing spots.
You gotta learn to freaking write. Okay, I was the taxes. I got it done.
Oh.
Maybe I had them
See,
switched around
I was
then.
gonna say I don't remember saying
Yeah.
anything about taxes, but.
Well, I copied. Okay, never mind. All right, so did
but
you
I
get your
didn't even do
taxes
my
done?
taxes.
I pretty much got them done, and then they extended it until June.
When's your tax deadline in Canada?
So-
Usually-
It was May,
No,
Yeah,
usually
but
it's like end of
1st
April.
of May.
1st of May usually. And then they've extended it to June, and then you don't have to pay it back until August now,
Whatever.
if you have to pay it
If
back.
you have to pay
Yeah,
back.
I don't get a return because I have to do all of Deb's income tax. So
Oh.
because she doesn't pay tax throughout the whole year.
Mhm.
So whatever I get on my return, it's like I have to pay double what she brings in. So it's free.
Yeah.
But now I can defer the payment a little bit. I had a couple creative things in the tax return, so I was hesitant on submitting it. So I'm waiting on some tax advice. I figure all those guys are like sitting around anyway.
Yeah.
And answer my questions now.
Yeah.
You know
okay, you're
what?
not busy.
That's actually a really. Here's the thing: if you file them right now, is it everyone is so busy with everything else, they're just gonna be like, yeah, fine, and just like rubber stamp it and move on, or are they gonna be so bored they're like, oh no, I'm going through this with a fine tooth comb?
Yeah.
I'm
They have
thinking
7
so.
years.
I think the government
Yeah,
should shut
they're-
down. Almost like not
Everybody's
essential.
so
stuff.
distracted. I would say
Yeah.
everybody's so distracted that it's like they're looking at the news and they're just going like this right now.
Stamp. Yeah, say that. So this might be the time to do
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah, but I'm still gonna owe money, so it's like,
Yes, you
I'm gonna
are.
hold off for a little bit.
gotcha. Well, the things I had listed, I had actually mentioned 3 things, and what's interesting is the third one I didn't really mention is the one that kind of came to fruition. Baby Yoda is currently sitting here in front of me, looking at me, and
He ain't painted.
no movement has been made on that. I have not even unboxed my airbrush. It's still sitting in the garage. On my proton pack, on the other hand, I did at least get the replacement part 3D printed and painted and stuff so that I can eventually get some of the parts changed out on it. I'm hoping maybe I can get to that next week. We shall see. But the last thing that I was working that I really couldn't mention last week because I was kind of keeping it under wraps was if you've watched the Ghostbusters Afterlife International trailer, at the end of the trailer, there's a part where one of the girls is holding a proton pack and shooting it, and there's a little boy next to her, and after she finishes firing it, he's wearing a special type of ecto goggles, and he pushes a button, and it's a Polaroid camera built into it. So I got the idea way back when. I've been sidetracked doing other things, but I finally finished them.
That's so cool.
So that does have an actual Polaroid camera built into it. And here, fire up here in just a second. Come on, beep. Beep.
There you go.
There it goes. It's a little slower. I wish the camera was a little faster or whatever, but I can literally just push a button here in the middle and there'll be a little Polaroid picture pop out here. So here's actually one that I took or whatever. It's kind of hard to see, but you can actually see the outline of the.
So can you see through
Goggles and
them
stuff.
though? Like
You can see through the right-hand side just
okay.
enough. You can see through the right-hand side just enough that you can kind of aim. And I took several pictures in my living room with my cell phone and with this little Polaroid camera that's in here. And it's basically like just taking a picture with your cell phone, but with no zoom or anything.
Mhm.
So I figure as long as you get things fairly lined up in here and click it, you should be good to go. So I'm currently selling them on my Etsy store. I'm selling the plans. I've had a couple of people ask me, will you sell the whole thing? I'm like, no, I am not printing and paint and sanding and painting these things.
How long did
You
it take
cannot
you?
afford me. That's a good point. I hate sanding and painting. It's just
Listen, your mom apparently is really
no.
good at the
She
painting.
said yes, but she's talking about painting small things. This is like all rattle can stuff. So, and yes, I could have sanded a lot more, but I was really trying to get these things done because I'm seeing some other things pop up in the community where people are like, oh, hey, look, this one guy literally made a pair of goggles that looks really close to how they do in the trailer. And he took apart a camera and built it in there. And I had
Okay.
contemplated that, but I'm like, I can't resell that. Like no one else is, number one, I don't want to do the instructions on, hey, go buy a camera. Now take it apart. I didn't want any of that. So I went this route. So it's like print it, sand it, paint it, and then just go buy the camera and slide it in. And I actually just got featured on ghostbusternews.com, which is actually really cool. So, but I'm really proud of how these turned out. Obviously, I didn't get to really touch any of the other stuff. Hopefully, I've got another week off, so we'll see how that goes. Which actually leads us to kind of our main topic. So like I said at the top of the show, we are recording this in the middle, I guess the beginning, really, depending on who you talk to, of the COVID-19 outbreak. So I work for a school district, so does my wife. Lots of our friends do as well. And our district's been a little slow on deciding the outcome, but as for right now, we are out of work. So all the kids are not going to school and everything else. At this point, we're moving to what most people are considering between stage 2 and stage 3 for most places. So like most restaurants, they can do drive-through or delivery, but they can't have the main thing open. Grocery stores are shutting down between certain periods of time, but they're still open, but they're still shutting down like at night and stuff for
Our
restocking.
county just went to phase 3 today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it like all events and group, get-togethers and stuff have pretty much been banned, above a certain level of people or whatever. So it's getting pretty serious. And as a result, we're being encouraged to stay home. So you could look at this as two different ways. You could be like, wow, I got a lot more time at home. But as anyone who has kids or just anything going on, like, it looks like a big block of time, but when you actually get to it, like life just eats it up. Like, and sometimes it's big blocks, sometimes it's little bits. So for example, I look at it, I'm like, oh, hey, I'm off work. I have a whole day I could work on projects. But when I get up, it's like, all right, well, get up, make the boys breakfast, start, getting the house ready, like making beds, taking care of animals and stuff like that. I've got to eat, then we've got to clean up, and then in a little while we've got to look at making lunch and then taking care of that. And then there's dinner. And it's just like, there's little projects that keep coming up. And the next thing I know, I'm like, it's 5 o'clock and I've done nothing, or at least it feels like it. So we wanted to talk tonight about how do you cope with staying focused? Like, how do you cope with life eating up your time, whether I said bit by bit or chunk by chunk?
I found the fetal position is really effective. I just kind of curl up and rock back and forth in the closet.
I tried that at work, Sean.
Sean found you?
Yeah,
no, he just
hide
he kicked you.
in the middle of the hall.
In the middle of the hall.
Not a good hiding spot there.
No.
I wasn't hiding. I just
They'll walk by, they're like, do you think you're being attacked by a polar bear? What's going on?
Is that what you guys do in Canada when a polar bear?
What was that from?
Yeah. You're fucked.
You run at it to try and scare it back.
To try to scare it, yeah. You don't curl up.
And they laugh at you.
What was I remember? I'm sorry. Something or another. It was like you're supposed to roll up for a polar bear, and then the other person said something like, "Yeah, because it makes it easier for them to play with you before they eat you."
Yeah.
Basically.
That does nothing. So
That's any bear.
Well,
Any bear. Not just polar bears. Any bear.
I just figure if you run at it, at least it's going to be a shorter period of time before you're dead. Like it's
true.
Not delaying the inevitable.
That's right.
I found, for me, even though it's Wednesday and we got the notification on last Friday that the kids were going to be home for an extra 2 weeks, I personally I have anxiety and depression. So for me, my anxiety has just it's been a lot, and it's hard to want to do anything because it's just seems so futile and as a parent, I'm just freaking out that somehow I'm not doing enough for the kids. So there's a lot of that, and so for me it's been hard. It's been harder that way. The last couple of days have been okay, but how I've been trying to cope is, thankfully my daughter and I sort of have the same sort of stress reliever. We bake. There's a lot of baking going on, which means there's a lot of baking going on. But it has been hard to want to get up and actually do it. But once I'm doing it, it's great. But trying to get up the energy to do it has been really hard.
Are you working now, or is the store closed?
The store's closed.
Okay. See, I think it helps to have the distraction of work.
Yeah.
Even though I'm distracted at work, but I'm still working right now. So I have at least 8 hours a day where I'm sort of focused on something else. But it's very distracted work. I'm not giving it as much as I should be because I'm thinking about, everything else happening.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying about you. Some of it seems futile. Like, it's like, okay, so one of the reasons that I managed to get the goggles done that I got done is because there is a bit of a financial possibility. Like, I could actually maybe sell the plans and make some money. And to me, that's like, okay, that can help supplement my family. I mean, they've already said that, school districts are, we're going to get paid. We're going to get paid no matter what, which was a huge relief because, I mean, even though I'm a contract employee, that was one of those things that came up. It's like, well, I'm supposed to be there to help people that teach kids. And if they're not there teaching kids and I'm not there. So, that was a little bit of a concern. So it was like, well, I can do this. And then, I can make some money off it. Haven't made any sales off it yet. No, doesn't matter. That's fine. I'm still happy that I got it done. But like I said, I'm looking at Baby Yoda. There's no financial benefit to that. The only benefit to that is I can get it done. I can get it checked off my list, which for me is a huge thing. Like, I love checking off, list. But
almost as much as he loves making them.
True. I'm telling you, man, like making those lists and making little boxes, like Adam Savage said, and coloring them in. We should either for the book club or for this show, we really should read Adam Savage's Everything is a Hammer, because it's very motivational and he does there's a lot of good information in there. But anyway, so yeah, I understand that part. Like, now that I've got these done, I'm still kind of motivated to get that done, but it's just like, I really want to get my proton pack done. But on the other hand, Lauren brought up, like, all the cons are canceled right now. And that was going to be one of my motivations, was going to be, okay, I've got a con coming up in like 2 weeks or whatever. I need to get this thing done so I can take it and it'll be awesome. But now it's like, I've got literally until probably midsummer before anything comes up, even then. And it's like, I still want to get it done, but you're right. It's hard to get that motivation to do it because, there's so many other things that are going on. Like, I didn't get around to sitting down with the boys again to working on tying their shoes. That's something that we started working on Monday, and it's Wednesday, and I haven't gotten back around to it. And it's like, nope, tomorrow this has to happen again. Mm-hmm. It's just, life just keeps eating up these little things. Yeah. So, anyone else want to jump in on that?
Well, I was going to say, I'm like, Sean and I are still working as well. And so there is that distraction of, you have to go to work and you got to do your thing still. So, for me, I feel like, it's been very difficult to want to come home because there's so much uncertainty of what's going on. And then there's a few things at our work that they're changing ideas of what it's going to look like to go to work for a little bit. We'll see what happens with that. So, there's a focus on that. And then you're thinking about, everything else that's going on in the world. My parents have been in Florida
since January.
And so when they were closing the border and stuff like that, or like when they were talking about doing all those things, I was trying to message them and like talk to them into coming home. And then their air conditioning broke. And so they've had to wait for that to get fixed. So now they're on their way home Saturday, which they'll be allowed to cross the border in. They've already confirmed that their insurance is going to cover them as well, because that was something else that I was concerned about. I'm like they're
like car insurance or
travel insurance, right?
Okay.
Insurance and all that stuff. So so there's just all these other things that are going on that are in my head. It's like I'm mentally exhausted from even wanting to do anything, because you get home and it's like, okay, so I've just aged about 5 years and or my beard today.
It is, and I totally agree with you, Ray. It's hard, especially at the place that we're working at, that you have to keep so focused for your own safety and other people's safety that you're like wanting to check the internet like every 15 minutes. And it's really difficult.
Yeah, you guys are kind of like cut off. You can't have your devices with you, right? When you're at work. Oh.
No, we're not. There are a couple people that are allowed to have their devices at work, but the majority of us don't. And especially where we work, within the plant, we're not allowed to have those. So.
Have we mentioned on this show where they work, or do we need to tell?
Y'all already mentioned.
Okay, I don't remember because we talk about it on other shows. But the nuclear power plant.
Name, that's all.
Yeah.
No, don't say its name. Please don't say its name.
Yeah, it's just yes, they work for a particular type of power industry, which is very important to be focused on. So.
Yeah.
But so like you're talking about, I find myself constant. I got up this morning. I stayed up until 3 last night because I told Christy, I said it was midnight. I said I need to finish the documentation on selling these goggles. I'm going to go ahead and crank this out because I know tomorrow morning I'm going to just keep getting sidetracked. I stayed up until 3 last night. Got that done. Woke up this morning at 9. Came in, got my laptop. I'm like, okay, I just need to look over a couple of quick things. I can get this posted. I can get this out there, and it'll be awesome. I'm still sitting in my bed at 11 o'clock with my laptop because I start getting notifications about work. Hey, are we still going to be closed? What are we going to do with this? What is this going to happen? And it's just like, yes, normally I would be at work, but I wouldn't be as distracted as I am. Like I'm trying to do these two things, and Christy, picked up the slack. She knew I was trying to get stuff done or whatever, but it's just like, my God, like every time I turn around, it feels like I need to look at my phone because someone's messaging me asking about something, whether it be for work or it's, someone I know personally, asking for ideas or help or
setting up a new computer.
So, but yeah.
And telling him that he needs to drain his water.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm so glad. I'm so glad I got that information, but I'm also just like, crap, one more thing.
I know, exactly.
Lauren, did you know that you're supposed to completely drain your water heater probably 2 or 3 times a year?
I did not know that.
Yeah, neither did I.
And I wish I didn't know that because I'm the one that does all that stuff in my household.
Well,
that's what I need is one more thing on my plate.
Exactly.
Yes. So now I'm trying to figure out a time that I can drain it because I've lived in this house for like I think 15 years. I've never done that, and I got to looking. So I listened to Sustainably Geeky, and they're talking about this, and I'm just like, I've never done this. So I start looking it up, and it's like, oh yeah, like if it starts to take longer for the water to heat up, I'm like, yeah, then it's been doing that. I'm just like, crap.
But you like hook up a hose and you drain
it
into
it's not
your yard.
hard. It's just it's one more thing.
Yeah, it's another thing.
But
save the water and water your plants with it.
Oh yes, absolutely. It's going on my yard.
Yeah. Don't waste it. It's a lot of water.
But yeah, so that's another thing. So like one of the things I worked on last week was part of it was on my to-do list. I was trying to finish up the floors or whatever, and I'm like, oh, this should only take a couple of hours.
I wish we've had time off. My husband works for the warehouse for HEB.
Oh, then I bet he's working double time.
15, 17-hour days. He went in at 4 this morning and he's still not home.
Bless his heart.
Oh my goodness, Lauren.
Warehouse.
Yeah. So I've still been working. I work on Fort Hood. They don't shut down unless it is the apocalypse. So we've all still been working and trying to figure out what to do with our daughter that is no longer in school now. And they're not telling us until like the last minute that they're not going to have school like the next week.
Yeah, because that's helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because people don't have to plan for this stuff.
Nope, they sure don't. Yeah. That could be a completely different podcast that would get me fired. Anyway, so
few of us.
Yeah, so like have you found that like what do you use to keep yourself kind of on task even when it's these extra things? Like I have a list in my phone. I since Apple they did it a while back, they updated the to-do list in there, and it's gotten a lot better. It used to be really bad, but it's gotten a lot better. And so I find myself putting in those to-do list things just to make sure that I don't forget any of this stuff, because I guarantee by the end of the day I'm just like, well, crap, I forgot to do the litter box or whatever. And it's just like I find myself, if I make a list, and my wife makes fun of me for this all the time, but if I make a list, I'm more likely to stay focused and get the things done that I want to get done, whether it be projects for 3D printing or whatever it might be. So
I do lists like crazy. I mean, I'm just pen and paper usually because I like the satisfaction of crossing it out, but also I will forget. Like I think of things all the time, and if I don't have them on that list, I'll a couple days later be like, shit, I needed to do that and come back to it. But yeah, it also keeps me focused and kind of helps me prioritize. And I'm just really bad about wanting to do it all at once, and then I hype myself up and I get so stressed, and I have to remind myself like you can only do one thing at a time. So, yeah.
No, that's what we do all the time as well, especially like if we got house projects or anything like that. We make those lists of okay, this is where we're going to start, and and then we start making lists of things to buy.
Subcategory lists.
So it's.
I was just about to ask that, like how detailed you get, because like okay, so like for example, I can't put on my list work on finishing ecto goggles. Yeah. No, that's not. It's like 10 different steps in there, and I find. Yeah. It's a little tedious to do it at first, but it also makes me feel better to go back and go, okay, well, I can't check off the entire thing. I can't say I got them all done. No, but at least I made, a couple pieces of it done. Yeah.
Well, especially when you have to order parts, you have to be like, buy this. And then, okay, I did that. That was an ordeal.
Yes.
Now I have to install it.
So when I was in college and we had to do our, I can't remember what class it was for, but it had to do something with problem solving and how to sort of to teach that to a class. How do you solve a problem? I can't talk right now. And it was, you have this big, massive problem and it can seem super overwhelming. But if you write down what is within that problem that you have to do and just do one of those little small things, the big problem doesn't seem as big, and before you know it's all done. That's what we have to do, especially with renos. We've learned that we'll make a list of all the renos that we want to do, but then within that's the header. That's the header for the list that goes underneath it. And sometimes those lists have little extras little as well, sidebars and stuff too. Yeah. And even if I'm not even doing it, like if it's his job, I still, for me, have to write it down and cross it off because I feel it's a satisfaction thing. It's like, yes, we're done now.
It's actually something that I want to push myself to do anyway for music. Write down the songs that I actually want to learn, and then learn the chorus, learn the and break it down that way.
Well, that's a good idea.
Because just saying learn this song, well, I learned that part of it. That's cool. I can play that part, right? And then you forget that there's a bridge, and then there's a chorus, and then there's so it's.
Do you guys ever write things on your list after you've done them just so you can show that you did something? Like, I made progress. I did this thing that I didn't realize I needed to do. I'm writing it down.
I do that all the time.
I've gotten better about not doing that specifically, but I will, like, if I've got a second, I'm literally like in the living room on my way to go do whatever it is. I'll go ahead and add it to my list just so that I can.
Exactly. So you can cross it out and be like, I did shit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also if I'm not if my mood is not that great, I find that helps too. That it's like, okay, I already did that, so I'll write it down and check it off. It makes me feel a little boost. I'm like, see, I am being productive today.
Sean, are you a list guy?
I try doing lists, but I keep losing them. So at work, because I got so many balls in the air, I compartmentalize everything in my mind, and that way I can interact with it. I was like, okay, this is going to affect this, but I do it all in my head. Works really good at work, but if I try doing it at home, oh my god, because I'm always forgetting something, and that's where I start trying to write lists, and I swear to God, there's like probably the same grocery list would be like written like 10 times, and I can't find any of them.
You need a whiteboard.
We have them, and it works great for my wife and kids. And I just like we use lists, like our whole menu is planned out for like the week. Like it's all written down and all that. The grocery list is right next to it, so we can organize the grocery list to the supper, all the meals and all that. And that's second nature, but that's a home thing where I'm not quite as involved because I'm never here. But like for my own projects and all that, like working out in the carriage house, there's like 1,000 things I need to do. But every time I try writing a list, I lose the damn list. So it's
I've actually done that too, where I've written it on a piece of wood.
Oh god.
And I'd write it on the wood, and then when I do something, and then I'm like, where's my list? And realize I've used that piece of wood, and it's now up. So if somebody ever pulls that down, they're gonna find.
Left him a nice note.
Yeah. He does. It's a family trait because your mom does this, and your
sister
sister
and my dad does it,
and your sister does this too. So whatever bits of writable surface they can grab to write the list, they will.
They just write on.
Yeah, they just write on it.
You write on your arm ever?
I saw someone post.
So before I had this tattoo, so after I got it, I said to Chris, I'm like, my notepad's gone. That's my notepad. I should have done the right hand first. So now it's got to be on the inside of my palm, and that's not going to get tattooed. So I actually used to write on like the little parts that I don't have a tattoo, so that we're good. So I still got some fingers and stuff I can use.
Right on your forehead.
What was that? That was a Simpsons episode where he'd written something on his hand and got all sweaty and looked at it and it was all blurred. Yeah. Lauren, what about you? Are you a list person or?
Sometimes I try to make lists. I have good intentions, and then I set them down in my lovely disaster behind us, and they're gone. Paint, something spills on it. I think they're gonna do me good, and I'll subcompartmentalize, write down everything, but I'm not very good at keeping track of my list.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So one trick that I've done now is after the list is done, I'll actually snap a picture of it.
Oh, that's
so I've got it. And then that way, if I go to the store, I've always got my phone. It's like, shit, I forgot my list. At least I got the picture of it.
Yeah. Well, I type my husband's grocery list. He goes to the store once a week, and I type it up for him. But with mine, I always just write on paper. And
you don't like how I grocery shop, though.
No, I hate the way you grocery shop.
Okay, so Christy and I used to write the grocery list. I know this is kind of on topic, but not. But we used to write the grocery list, so like I knew the layout of the grocery store, and I pretty much knew all the aisles. And so I would write the list so that you could literally just go up and down the aisles and get everything you needed. To the point that I was like, I am not a programmer, but it was a to-do list thing, and I was just like, I wonder if there's a way that you could, because like most Walmarts, there's like roughly 3 or 4 different layouts, and then they'll flip the store, but for the most part they're all laid out the same way. And I'm like, I wonder if you could figure out a way to do that so that you could go in, and there was an app, and you basically made your list, and it would automatically organize it for you so that you could just walk through it.
HEB's app does that.
Does it?
You put in what you want, and you pick it, and then it tells you the aisle it's on. So I think you can make a list that way.
See, I do the curbside pickup, so it's been completely mute for me. But that's exactly what I was thinking. If I was still going, I would love that feature.
Sometimes when I want to find something, I will look in the app to find out what aisle it's on.
I do that for Lowe's.
It's so annoying, but
because I'm like, this is obviously not in plumbing. It should be in plumbing. Where is it?
What's it doing in lumber?
Exactly.
I will say another trick I do sometimes, because I follow my calendar religiously. Like everything goes to my calendar. So if I have certain things on my list that I need to do, I will schedule it in my calendar as just an event, and then that makes sure that I do it. So I'll still have it on the list, cross it out. But like today, I went to get my brake light fixed at my dad's house and had that on the calendar, so I knew to go do it, and there wasn't like me forgetting or not having time for it or something. So
yeah, see, that's really helpful when it's things that like. Well, like one of the things I need to do, I need to go out and we had the yard and stuff mowed. I need to trim up the bushes and I need to trim up the trees. And it's something I walk outside and I go, crap, I still need to get that done because I haven't put it in my phone as a to-do for me eventually. Because, occasionally I run into a little bit of downtime and I'm just like, all right, well, what can I try to knock out now? Yeah. And if it was there, I'd be like, okay, then I need to schedule this for.
Well, it's going to rain for like the next 5 days.
Yeah, that's the other problem.
Don't even bother.
It was supposed to rain constantly up until now, and we've barely gotten anything. So I don't know what to do with that. But
cold this weekend and
no, tomorrow's supposed to, this weekend.
Oh, this weekend it's supposed to be cold and maybe snow. Yay!
Oh my God. Maybe that'll help kill some stuff up there.
No, I doubt it. No. You'd think so. No. Down weather makes it worse.
Oh, yay. Awesome. Let me think. Is there anything else anyone does to try to block out or try to stay focused on getting their projects or something that they want to get done? We've gone over lists. I mean, like they're extremely helpful. Now, let me just again reiterate, like I said, in Adam Savage's book, I tried it. I loved the idea. It's just you really have to kind of do it on paper. I had a notebook at work for the longest time that I never wrote anything in it. I was like, I'm gonna try this out. And so he says on his list, he actually learned it while he was working at ILM, and it's pretty much an industry standard for them. Is when you make your list, you put a little box next to it, and as you start working on it, you half fill it in. And when it's completed, then you fill it all the way in. And the idea behind this is you can quickly glance and see what you've gotten some progress done on and what you've got completed or what you haven't started on yet. The other nice thing is he keeps all of his notebooks for all the projects that he does, so that if he ever needs to go back and reference anything, and he's like, the problem with either scribbling it out or just putting a line in it, sometimes it makes it not as legible. Mm-hmm. And so the idea of the box is you don't have to put a line through it so you don't lose that information. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. So I've started doing that with a paper notebook. I really wish I could find an app on the phone that would let me do that. Mm-hmm. Just because I like the idea of, I could do like you were saying, Ray, I could go back and take pictures of it, but I like the idea of having it indexed so that if I ever go, crap, what was that part that I bought for that cosplay that I was working on? I could just quickly reference it in my phone and it would immediately find it, and I wouldn't have to sit there and flip through pages or whatever.
I don't know if it would do it, but I know there is an app. I'll send you the name of it if I think of it, because there's one that I've used in the past that has something similar to that. The other thing I was going to say, you hit on the notebook at work. Chris would actually be very surprised to hear this. At work, when I'm the lead, or if I'm doing one of the leads on a particular project, I'll actually have what you talked about, where there's a box beside the list, but I put a box on one side and a box on the other. So one that I've started it and one that it's completed.
Okay, that's interesting.
There's so many different steps that I have to do or get into or whatever. So, and then at work as well, we're supposed to circle one that we start, slash through it when it's when you're done, and then even initial it to say, okay, this is when it was done. So
it's because you use it all up at work. You don't have any of that left over.
Got nothing left here. So yeah, there's a circle slash method that you're supposed to use just to keep you on point to make sure you're following the procedure properly.
Is that something like, I mean, obviously you said you do it at work, so it's probably ingrained there. Do you know if that's like an industry type thing, or is that just something that y'all...
It is.
So clearly is an industry standard for procedures and stuff like that. But yeah, Ray's right. Like when I was step up for a supervisor, I had a notebook, and yeah, circle slash was the standard for it.
I love when industries have things like that, especially if it's something you can take into the rest of your life. Because stuff like that, what you just described, isn't some BS that someone came up with. That sounds like that is a working system that actually is very beneficial. So,
yeah, the trick is to get used to doing it, because you'll get through a step and then you'll start the next part and it's like, nope, I got to circle that I'm on that step, because if I don't circle it, then I don't know that that's where I'm at. So you know it's a matter of it takes a little practice to get into doing it, but once you get into it, you can't stop.
Have you ever heard of Rocketbook?
No.
It's a notebook that's like got plastic pages and a special pen that you can erase with, and then I don't know, you take a picture of it with the app or on their phone and it uploads it, and then you think you can interact with it. So
yeah, it's really nice. I bought my sister one for Christmas.
Yeah.
You have to have special erasable pens, like a certain brand, and it had like 10 pages in it. And once you take a picture of it, you can erase it.
Oh, that's cool.
So, that sounds fantastic.
That might be what you need. I have one because Barb got me one for my birthday or something, and I use it and I write in it and erase it, but I never upload it. I never use the app part because I'm just like, it's like paper but reusable. So
that sounds. I may have to look into that.
You may need to get one of those if you're wanting to be able to interact with it on your phone, and it's.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. I may have to look into that. So.
Did she like it, Lauren? Did she like that Rocketbook?
Yeah. So she loves notebooks, and she had like 1 million of them. And she always complains because she uses them so much they we're tearing up. She buys cheaper ones because she uses them so much. So since she's been using this, she told me it's fantastic because she just has one and she takes it everywhere with her, and she can take pictures of it, and she can kind of still categorize. Like she doesn't have to take it all out right away because it has about 10, 15 pages. I bought her one of the bigger ones. She uses it for work. She uses it to keep track of everything because she loves colored pens. So I bought her the colored pen set to go with it. So because everything's got to be colored.
Yeah, and they
organized. She's not me. She's very organized.
They have different icons on them. So when you upload them, you can pick the icon that goes with whatever you're doing, and then
that sounds cool.
A microfiber cloth that you wash it off with or clean it just with water or something. So.
Yeah, I could use that because I like.
She loves sharing stuff with me to make sure I take care of things.
That's awesome. I like it because I'm the type of person, I need to write it down. My sister-in-law is the exact opposite. Everything is her phone. If that phone ever got lost or broken or whatever, she's up. But I can't use it. I'll forget it. I'll forget that it's in the phone. Even if there's alerts, I'll be like, yep, got it. And then I'll forget it. So having both would be kind of cool because
does it have lines?
You have something.
Has, a grid.
Okay, as long as it's got something, because otherwise my handwriting is going to go.
It's little squares, tiny little dots that make squares and a grid and stuff.
Okay, that may be on my on the gift list or just I'm buying this, Christy. So.
So quick side note about that though. That just reminded me. I don't know if you guys saw the Simpsons. Remember the Simpsons episode where Martin gets his goon there to write into the whatever it's called, beat up Martin later.
Yeah.
And then he throws it. Yeah. So they actually use that in to help with text to the auto texting and predictive text. So they use that sentence in order to practice to make sure that it would pick it up properly.
Nice.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Funny.
So let me ask y'all about this. So, do you find it easier or harder to focus when you have like media playing? So for example, I'm really behind on my Netflix to-do list because there are a lot of shows that I want to focus on while I'm doing it, so I can't really do anything else on. So I don't feel like I can just have that on the background. Shows that I've already watched though, and there are a couple other things in particular. I'm like, no, I can have that on the background while I'm working on doing other things. Audiobooks for me are the best invention ever because I'm constantly listening to those or podcasts, and I find I tend to focus a lot better when I'm listening to something while I'm working because I'm able to drown out other things. Sometimes too much. The wife tells me, hey, I've asked you 3 times, and I'm like, oh, sorry. Yeah. But no, how do y'all, like, do you find having something on in the background helps or hurts?
So we always have something in the background here. And
we grew up with like that. Like my mom always had the radio on constantly.
My parents had the TV, whether it was news or anything, it was always going.
There's something always in the background.
But the trick is it's got to be not distracting. So it's got to be something we've already watched before.
Like a bajillion times. Like
for TV wise. So Harry Potter movies or the Friends episodes or
The Office, Parks and Rec,
anything like that, we can do it. If I'm listening to a podcast or an audiobook, I can go and do a project that I don't have to think about. No problem. I can go, like if it's, measuring this and doing that and cutting wood or something like that, I can listen to because I don't have to think too much. I'm just doing the motions. But if there's something where I have to particularly focus on a specific thing and actually think about what I'm doing next, I'll pause it. And I have to have the silence for that particular part. It's kind of like driving in the winter. I'm good up until it is extremely white out, and it's like the Star Wars effect where you've got, okay, turning the radio down, and I need to focus on what I'm doing. So.
Yeah, it's turning the radio down when you get lost, right? Like you have to like.
Yes.
Or it's raining in buckets. Yeah.
Just turn the radio down.
I go, okay, this is distracting.
Yeah.
The only time I find like I can do even complex things still listening to it, as long as I don't have to output. I can't input and output at the same time. I can't listen to an audiobook and write an email or something. It doesn't. My brain does not work. Will not do that. I think probably most people are wired that way, but there may not be. I don't, so.
Well, I am like I can't have music, shows, audio, anything on if I am trying to write or read something, and that's most of my job. So like I can listen to a radio station or Pandora usually, but if I'm having to sit down and edit a document or write it, it's got to go off because the words from that song are going to interfere with the words I'm trying to write or read. But also, like when I'm at home, sometimes I'll have a podcast on, sometimes I'll have music on, but very rarely will I have the TV on as background because if it's on, it distracts me from anything I want to do. Like even if I've watched it 100 times, I will stop and just watch it and I won't get anything else done. So I just don't have. Sometimes I just have silence too at home. It's kind of nice to just have complete quiet and nothing going on. So I don't know.
What about you, Lauren? Do you listen to stuff while you're crafting or?
I do. I listen. So if it's something I've watched before, I'll put it on my laptop and have it over there while I'm working. But I also listen to my audiobooks quite a bit at home while I'm working and when I'm actually at work.
It's nice. It's nice when you've got a job that you can do that. So.
Can't that.
Yeah. Because I probably would not get anywhere near as much stuff done. And one of the nice things is one of the other reasons I held out so long. I was hoping my current partner was going to be this way, and thank God he is. Like, we will go long stretches. We work in the same office, long stretches of time. I have my headphones on. He has his headphones on, and we don't say a word. I'm sure there are people that would drive up the wall, but we're perfectly fine with it. And, like, if something comes up, then I'll pull up my headphones. Hey, did you hear about? We'll have a conversation, put the headphones back on. We just go right back into it. And it's really nice. I'm so glad I've got my current partner. So... what about you, Sean? Do you listen to stuff while you're working, especially when you're working on projects on the house and stuff, or are you?
Sometimes
he used to work listen to Epically Geeky when it was available.
Yeah, I used to do that.
That's how I got him into it. It was woohoo.
It really depends on what I'm doing, what concentration level I need. A lot like Jen, if I have to be writing something or reading something, I can't have anything else going on. I need to focus on that. For working, I prefer doing music because I tried doing audiobooks, like working out in the carriage house or something like that. And I found that I was like, crap, I just missed like the last 10 minutes of this audiobook. I zoned out. So I
was going to say, if it's one that I've listened to already and I already know the story, it's kind of like listening to a movie or something. I'm good with it. This is where I'm at right now. So anyway, I interrupt. Sorry.
No, that's pretty much it. It's I've got a lot of like television series and stuff like that I close my eyes and I can play the whole thing in my head. Like I don't even, which is nice. I don't even have to turn on the DVD or TV player anymore. Like I can I'm gonna just sit in the corner and watch something.
He's talking to
He's in the fetal position too.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, it really depends on what I'm doing and what concentration level. And then it typically will be music that I can take. The audiobooks, not unless I'm driving for some reason. Whether great. A car or like the lawn tractor or whatever, audiobook every time.
Oh yeah, it makes it go by faster.
The audiobook helps for those long drives for sure.
Yeah.
Drives and lawn work is when I get a lot of my podcasts and audiobooks in. It's like just sitting here, especially. I'm stuck, can't do anything.
I can't hear anything with the vacuum cleaner on anyway. Might as well listen to the next chapter. So, let me ask you another question. There's a lot of people that talk about the myth of multitasking. I see that, although what I considered multitasking, I guess people would consider just like prepping things. So, for example, like as we're doing this podcast right now, you can probably hear I'll try to take out as much of it as I can, but I've got at least 2 3D printers going. I would normally have the third one, but I'm like, no, might as well not add more to it as we're going. But so I have to stop what I'm doing to make sure that I'm kind of babysitting them. Whenever it's really long prints, like the one that's going right now to the left of me is like a 17-hour print. That one over there is like an 8-hour print. I really like being able to multitask in that way that I'm like, okay, I'm going to take 10 to 15 minutes, not do anything else, and I'm going to go ahead and get this project started because I know they can work while I'm working. I'm able to kind of offload. I guess it's not really multitasking. It's more like offloading work. How do you? The only problem is like when all the printers, especially if all three of them come up about the same time. Hey, it's been 8 hours. I need your assistance, and you're in the middle of something. It's like, oh man, this it kind of breaks your rhythm. How are you able to offload stuff like that? And if you are, or even if you're not, like how hard is it for you to get back into the swing of things whenever you've been interrupted by something?
When the kids were really little, I was really good at multitasking. So because I was at home, so I could have a baby in my arms on my hip and like do a bajillion things with one arm. Mm-hmm. Now I'm really good at delegating the jobs out to the kids. It's like, okay, we got a list of stuff to do. Logan, you do this. Quinn, you do this. I'll do this. Go team. So that I've gotten good at. So less and I can still, it's like muscle memory. I can still do, if I've got something in my one arm, I can still do a lot of things with the other arm, but yeah. But if I'm listening to something, like if I'm watching TV and I'm listening to it, he can't talk to me because
we've had full-on conversations and made some life decisions, and then the next week I remind her of life decisions, and she's like, "What? Are you talking?
When did I agree to marry you? What?
What happened?"
Yeah.
And so my thing is like, was I watching television? He'll be like, "Yeah." I'm like, wasn't listening to
almost how I got my bike.
Almost.
Oh, you're starting to catch on. Okay, I'm gonna go ask her now.
Oh, I cut off.
So I'm really, except if I'm really focused on something, literally the world around me will disappear and I will hear nothing. Absolutely nothing.
She's hilarious to watch a movie with because she gets so drawn into the movie, she's lost in it, and it's kind of hilarious to watch because she'll be like, oh, when like there's a.
We went to see John Wick in the theaters with a couple of friends, and the entire time they were snickering at me because I was like, like physical reactions, and I was like audible about it because it was a lot. It was really bad. I mean, it was a lot, but like that's.
I think the axe to the head was the biggest one.
Yeah. But I get like really same with if I'm listening to something that I like a book that I haven't listened to. I have a bad habit. It could just be my distracted mind, like either like squirrel, and I start thinking about something else, and then I'll come back and be like, I missed 5 minutes of that book. My mind wandered, and I'll have to go back. But yeah, if I'm really focused on something, I'm pretty one-dimensional. If I'm listening to it.
And I find that I'm the same way. I'll like painting, right? I'll get into a painting session, and if it's the mood strikes me, that's what I'm doing.
Yes, you're pretty.
And I can't I don't want to go and do other things. I remember Chris was like that with her writing.
Yeah.
I'd lose her for days.
Yep.
Like she'd be, and then all of a sudden she'd be like,
I'd come out.
Hey, what's going on? What do I? Donald Trump's president now. Sorry, I had to throw that over there. But yeah, no, it's one of those things that when the mood strikes, man, I got to take advantage of it because I'll usually get a lot done if I'm in it.
Yeah.
If I'm forcing myself, it's a struggle, and I'll look for opportunities to get out of it.
No, I know what you mean because I get the exact same way where it's like I can't do this right now. But then one day I'll wake up and be like, you know what? Today's the day I'm going to tackle this and it's going to happen. And it's so much easier. But if I'm not in that mindset, I don't even try now because it's like pulling teeth.
Yeah, depending on what the project is. For me, a lot of it is like if I'm working on something, I do have some workspace here. But if it takes more room than this, or if it's something like I've got to set up with, it's just like, no, this has to be a big chunk of time I've got to set aside because it's, it's something that I have to get into and I can't just easily kind of pull in and out. Smaller things, like I said, like the printers, on the other hand, it's something that I can go, okay, I finished this project. Let me go check, look in real quick. No. All right, cool. Change this one print out and keep going. And then I can get back into what I'm working on. So it does depend on the project, but yeah, some of those projects you just have to like, nope, I've got to start this like first thing tomorrow morning when I have energy and I know I've got time and stuff because I don't know about y'all, at work constantly I'll look at my partner and be like, no, that sounds like a tomorrow job because it's already
future Eugene
that's
problem.
That's already at 3:00. So
I'm like when it comes to multitasking though, I'm not very good at judging sometimes. I overestimate my capabilities.
Oh, that happens to me all the time.
So like for instance, laundry is the worst for me. I don't know why I think if I start at 7 or 8 at night, I can get more than 1 or 2 loads done. Because by the time you do everything like pre-treat and wash and dry and fold, it's like a 4 fucking hour process for 2 loads of laundry all together. And I'm always up until like midnight cussing myself out. Like, why the fuck did you do 3 loads? You know better, and I'm trying to wash the dishes and do all these things that are distracting me. So whenever, like you said, when the load ends, I'm not able to actually do it. And then it's sitting there and then I'm like, I know this, but I keep doing it. And I keep it's just little things like that I think I can do at the same time as something else. And I have to teach myself that, no, you're actually going to have to wait for that till tomorrow because you don't have the time.
Yeah, I overestimate my capabilities all the time, but at least your dryer works better now. So. What about you, Lauren?
I think I'm pretty decent at multitasking. My daughter interrupts a lot, so I'm pretty good at starting and stopping things. I'll run my Cricut, so I do a lot of my designs on my foam with my Cricut. So I'll put it in, and I'll have that going, and then I'll be working on putting other things together. And then I'll come over, switch it out, and then just kind of keep going.
It's nice having robots do stuff for us, isn't it?
It really helps out. Once you program it and put it in there, it's so easy. And then you can just keep reusing it.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the other, and I've gotten so used to that as well. I have a 3D pen, and it's something I want to play with, but I'm like, but I can't replicate this. This is a one-time deal. I'm not going to keep doing this. Whereas if I design it on 3D print, I'm putting a lot more time in the front hand, but I can just keep copying those babies out. So which goes back to the notebook thing. It's one of those things. It's like once I input that data, I don't want to have to recopy it or go find it or whatever. I want it accessible. So, what about you, Sean? Do you do a lot of multitasking or find yourself trying to get it done?
I can. I find as long as I start with a really good plan, it's like building a Jenga tower. As long as I take the time and I can build a huge ass tower and I can pull the pieces out and move them around, as long as all the pieces are still there, I'm good, really good with multitasking. So I can have really complex plans. The problem arises when I get even extra pieces. As long as they're like rectangles, that's fine. But every now and then I get a cone into a Jenga tower.
Yep.
And then the whole thing comes down, and you know what? I just sweep it under the rug, and it's gone. So
I'm beginning to think you're not losing your list. I'm beginning to think you're just like, no, let's do this.
Well, it's like you can add like pieces to this tower, and like you can get bigger and bigger and move it all around. It looks really cool and all that. But then someone will throw a cone in that's not related to anything else in the tower. And how do you stack on top of that? You can't.
Yeah.
And then it falls over, and you're like, I got kids to clean that up. So. But,
is that what
the tower itself? Like I can have a lot of stuff going on and multitask and like down to the minute kind of thing for some of the projects that I do here at the house or at work or whatever. And I've always been wired like that. But something will come out of left field, and your whole plan is like, oh, this isn't gonna work. Oh, I'm I'm a little sick. I should go on it.
Like running your wires for your internet?
Oh God. Hey, they're working now.
Yes, they are.
Good deal.
Christ.
Yeah, you just love when a 5-minute project ends up taking 2 hours. So that was when I worked at a little computer maintenance store, and that was the running joke there was the myth of the 5-minute modem install, because technically speaking, opening up a computer, installing a modem, and installing the software should only take you about 5 minutes. Never did, because there's always things that you don't know is going to happen that come up. So it's like, oh, hey, guess what? Because your antivirus is, out of date, then all of a sudden I have to do all these updates before I can install anything. And
you have to change your password, and every password you give me is not going to work.
Exactly.
Or it's been used. So
yeah, fun times. So
I know all about computer problems.
Is there anything else anyone wants to add to things that either suck your attention away or ways that you combat it?
So one thing I was going to add was one thing that helps motivate me is actually watching the kids learn something new. So when the kids want to play a guitar or learn a song or something like that, it's like, you know what, I'm going to take the time and actually get into this with them. And that's really helped me in a few moments anyway, where it's like, you know what, I got to get
bonding experience.
Yeah, it's that kind of motivates me a little bit. So if you have those moments, definitely take advantage of them if you can.
I just want to say, like, kind of related to what you're saying, but the overall theme of the show, I guess, like coping with difficult times and keeping creative juices flowing. I kind of made a post about this on Facebook today. Like, I would just want to encourage everybody not to fall in a slump with all this happening. Take advantage of the time that you have and like do something creative, learn something, do something to help people. But like, let's not let this thing that's happening in the world like make us all depressed and just, sit around and watch TV and not do anything with our time. Like, let's be productive with it and try to learn something new out of it, and at least silver lining there. So
here.
That's what I'm trying to do anyways.
And I will add to that, if you are somebody who struggles with mental illness and all you can do is get up off of your couch and just go for a walk, and that's all you've got the energy to do for that day, like vacuum or just or even do just something small to just get up off of either you're in bed or you're on the couch.
Get away from the news.
Shut everything off and just get up and just do one thing. Because I think, especially for me, that's the other thing. Some people enjoy, like I know some people, especially here, enjoy being productive and enjoy being in doing things. For somebody like me, it's very overwhelming, because then I feel that it's like I can't do all of those things, and I get so for me it's overwhelming to think, okay, now I have all this time, now I have to fill every second of it with stuff to do, and then it just starts going into the cycle of getting overwhelmed. So for me, it's getting out of the house every day and just going for a walk for half an hour. So that's the best I can do most days, is just that. It's just moving.
Yep. I was listening to a podcast today, and they were talking about it's mainly for creatives, and they were talking about how they're like, if you're in an industry where you're at home right now, and you've always wanted to learn something, they're like, this is the time to do it. Like, especially because they were specifically pointing out, like, a lot of libraries, if you get a library card, a lot of libraries have like subscriptions to things like lynda.com, which is nothing but really, really good courses on learning everything from programming to knitting to whatever. And it's like, you know, if you've been putting some of that stuff off, this might be a good time to give it a shot, even if it costs you $15 or whatever to learn a course or something. So it's one of those things. There's several things I'd love to learn. I've just got a bunch of other projects ahead of it right now.
You know what's cool though is a lot of like organizations and websites are putting things out there for free right now. Like the Metropolitan Opera is putting their music in their shows, and the aquarium, you know, I saw that your kids are going on a virtual field trip to a live, you know, aquarium visit, and just like so much cool stuff. You can see the artwork at the Louvre and all these museums, and it's like, wow, we're getting to like kind of see the world.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
From our windows. So it's just stuff like that is fun. Even.
Speaking of all that, did you guys see that the guy that voices Olaf is reading books?
I did see that.
Yeah, he's reading books on Twitter. I think.
Twitter.
Yeah.
So, every night he's reading kid books. So.
It's amazing.
Yeah. This is the third day they've done different. It's at the Cincinnati Zoo, I think, and every day they're doing a different animal. And
penguins?
They did penguins. I think they did penguins. They did ocelots today. No, I'm sorry. They did hippos. They did ocelots, and they did, I don't know what the other one. Anyway.
This is the cool thing about technology, though. Like, we're getting to kind of experiment with new ways of doing things and learning, and I don't know, kind of making lemons out of this lemonade, or lemonade out of this lemon situation. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Well, if no one has anything else they want to add, I guess we could again move on to our plans for next month. So I guess with that said, Ray, would you like to go first?
I am going to make a list of songs that I want to learn.
You are in the middle of moving and the world coming to an end. I think that is perfectly acceptable.
I think I'm gonna make a list of the top 5 songs that I want to learn, and then that's print off the music for it, and that's where I'll get done.
That's a good start. So do you have? No, I'm not gonna ask that. We'll ask that next time. What your 5 you chose were. So
it's gonna take me. I'm gonna whittle it down here. So
yeah. They're all Foo Fighter songs.
No. Just 2 or 3
or 5,
maybe 4. No, I gotta add Green Day in there. So
no, it's 4 Foo Fighter song and an Incubus song.
Oh, so 3 and then 3 and an Incubus and then Green Day.
Or then Nirvana. Oh, and then Me First in the Gimme Game. It's gonna take a while.
Me first.
So your list of 15 things, we'll get that from you next time. All right. I'll go ahead and jump in just because I had me on the list next. Now that I've got these goggles done, I'm really hoping to try to finish the stuff that I was setting out to do on my Proton Pack. Like, the thing is I've got to like take it apart, rewire the thing, and then there are a couple of things I got to add to it. So it's going to be, unfortunately, it's one of those bigger projects that I kind of need a lot of time to focus on, and I don't know how well that's going to work at home, but we're going to see. It may be a lot of late night work because then the kids are in bed and I can actually focus. So I'm going to try to work on the Proton Pack. We'll see how that goes. So, Chris, what about you?
I'm going to try to cry less. So we're going to work on that.
If you need me, call me, friend. I'm here.
I talked to Lainey. We had a Skype date for 2.5 hours yesterday, and it was amazing. We didn't eat dinner till 8 because I was on that Skype with her till 7 that night. Very needed. But so that less crying and less thinking the world's gonna end. I have somewhere in the house, and I can't remember. I ordered last year just a simple beginners, like a celestial embroidery kit. I think it's got the Big Dipper. So like beginner embroidery kit. So I'm gonna find it and I'm gonna do it because I ordered it last summer and I just tucked it away. Yeah, it's from a Instagram account called Miniature Rhino, and she's amazing. She's got a lot of mending stuff. I think I have one of her books, but she also makes embroidery kits. I'm gonna do that. And that's all I'm gonna try to do because I have a feeling I might like throw it if I get super annoyed. I've never done any embroidery before.
So one thing that she didn't mention though is above and beyond the curtains, we also have a friend that announced that she was pregnant, and we were super excited.
Oh
and
yeah, the kid's godmom's having a baby.
Yeah, so Chris took it and made her a blanket, and it was really super soft, and it took quite a bit of work because it wasn't normal yarn that you.
Oh, it pissed me off. This stupid yarn. No, I'm not buying that yarn ever again. It was just a headache.
But
you knitted it or crocheted?
Crocheted.
Nice.
A lot easier.
That's awesome.
It's faster.
So sometimes you forget the creative
I totally
stuff
forgot
do.
that.
That's a huge deal. Crocheting takes a long time.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't. Knitting takes forever. Yeah. Crocheting's super easy.
I have a blanket I started in high school and never finished, so it's almost done crochet, but props finishing it.
Do you have just a quick estimate? Do you have any idea how much longer it would take you to finish it if you were going to do it?
I don't know. I don't even know if I have enough yarn at this point, but probably a few hours. I could probably knock it out, but I don't know how big I want it either. It's like this big. I don't know. Anyways.
That's hilarious. All right. So, did you go with yours, Jen?
No.
Okay.
I'd like to say I'm gonna do what I was gonna do this month, but I'm gonna make that like my honorable mention.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna be realistic and say I need to get my bonus episode of Sustainably Geeky done.
Okay.
Because I went to Memphis and got to talk to the Living Lands and Waters crew, and I got all these interviews, but I have to put them all together and make an extra show out of it, which is going to take some work, and then record the rest of the radio shows, for April, because I did not get Marches done as early as I'd hoped, and it stressed me out, so I need to get ahead of this. So that's my goal for next month.
Alrighty then. Let's see here. Next on the list, I had Lauren.
All right, so my goal is I've had a lot of requests on how I use my Cricut to do the designs and stuff for my cosplay. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to attempt to make a video on this.
Ooh,
nice.
Yeah, awesome. Big goals. I'm not very good with video editors, and I'm not very good at being on camera, so it'll be interesting. And then, of course, to get further along on my costume. But I've got, 6 months now, so...
Yeah, no joke. So, oh, man. And Sean, what are you gonna shoot for next month?
Taxes.
No, my taxes are pretty well done. So,
okay.
I think for the month, I need to design a deck/shed. So in order to order all the right lumber and stuff like that, so I'll probably work on that, get the measurements, and because I have to have, it's got to have a standpoint built into it, so I have to have enough room for a pump and all that fun stuff. So I'll probably putter away on that.
If you want some help, let me know.
I think you got enough on your plate, don't you?
He's like, not me. I know a guy.
That's fine.
What's a little more? I got downtime at work, I'm sure.
Yes, I don't have any downtime. That's my big issue, and it's only probably going to get worse. So, we'll see.
Well, that is our show for the month, ladies and gentlemen. If you would please give us a 5-star rating on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Music, wherever you can pretty much find podcasts. We have got the show out there. Definitely subscribe if you haven't already. Like I said, it is going to be monthly. We're just going to keep meeting back and talking about the, doing the creative things. Also, check out our other shows, Epically Geeky, Marginally Geeky, Sustainably Geeky, and Procrastinators. Who knows? We can actually work an episode in, since the world is ending and everyone, we'll see about that. Who knows? That's just be the running joke now.
I was going to suggest maybe this weekend or next weekend, but
you know what? Let's throw it out there and see what floats at this point. So, as always, you can find us at epicallygeeky.com. I've got to update the site because, unfortunately, EGX got pushed. Hoping to maybe do it in August. We will see. But as for right now, there is no EGX 2020, which kind of really sucks. I just put the sticker on the back of my car, too. And it specifically said May, so I'm like, well, never mind.
It's not gonna be May.
Yeah, so that's not gonna work. Where can we find you online, Ray?
The Reluctant Yeti. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter. And if you search Raymond Andrew, you might find me on Facebook. I'm listed as one of the artists there.
Good deal. Chris, where can we find you online?
You can find me here on Sustainably Geeky, Marginally Geeky, and Epically Geeky, and on Instagram at The Bro Life.
Jen?
You can find me here, of course, on Epically Geeky, sometimes Marginally Geeky, and Sustainably Geeky. We just dropped our episode about green building for homes, so we give a lot of cool tips and to-do list items.
Yep. Freaking water heater.
And on Instagram and Twitter at Het's Gonna Be Me.
Lauren, where can we find you online?
You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Lauren Ray Cosplay on both.
Good deal. Sean?
Screwing with Wikipedia. Yeah.
You're that guy.
Yeah.
It's
a stress reliever.
What
can I say?
It's a stress reliever, yeah.
Yeah.
Bacon doesn't have that much vitamin D that you suggested.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can find me here on Epically Geeky, Marginally Geeky, and then Facebook, Sean McLaren. I'm the cute guy. Actually, no, I'm Don't Panic right now. I changed my profile pic.
Nice.
Yeah, don't panic, use a towel.
Good deal. And as always, you can find my individual wacky adventure online at Optimus Gene on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. For everyone on the site, have a good night.